Welcome everybody to the Chinchilla Pickin' Podcast. It is February the 23rd, 2025 at 4:11 p.m. As always, we hope to be entertaining, educational, and uplifting because we want everyone to make money. My name is David Underwood, and I'm joined by the one and only No Limits, No Excuses, Brandon Beaver. Brandon, what is up?
I guess I'm getting too old, man. I'm getting too old. Blood pressure issues and all that stuff's happening to me at the age of 39. Um,
It's because
this
you
font on
smoke
my
and you eat
computer,
horribly.
this font on my computer is too small, even though it's the same size as it was last week. That doesn't make any sense. Um, and now I don't know. Does this correlate with age? I like sweet tea now. What's the deal with that? How does that
You know,
happen?
all right. So, number of things. Because you still smoke, you eat horribly, you like sweet drinks. Anytime we've gotten coffee together, you get like a coffee with five sugars, two extra creams, and some special and like a bunch of special flavoring. So sweetness in your drinks is nothing new, dude. I've known you for years, and you've always done that.
I just now started liking sweet tea. I didn't like it before.
Did you really?
I'm like, yeah, this is pretty good stuff. Man, I'm old. This, this is like a two-edged sword.
Uh,
Got a gallon of Milo sitting in the fridge right now. I started drinking it, and I was like, yeah, this is good.
I don't drink tea. Tea. Um, we beat the British, so I'm joking. I'm joking. I'll have a good glass of a good cup of Earl Grey every now and then. But yeah, that's where my tea goes. Lipton's, no, not really. But I don't do sweet. No, I don't do sweet. I don't do
Hot
sweet
or
on my
cold?
coffee either.
Hot or cold?
Hot, hot.
Okay.
I don't do
Well,
cold tea. No,
we'll do
hot
the
tea.
iced tea. That's what I'm doing. I'm doing the
Yeah,
sweet tea, iced tea. Yeah.
no.
And I don't understand this font issue.
But your family's from, isn't your family originally from the South though? Doesn't that
Yes,
make more sense? Yeah. See,
it
you're
is. Yeah.
Southern family,
Yeah.
Southern
But you know what?
roots.
I can also drink black coffee and not have a problem with it. I do it most mornings when I'm at work.
So why do you always add the sugars when we go out for like grab Starbucks or Dunkin' or something?
It's a treat. You know what? The blueberry coffee from Dunkin' Donuts, it's the greatest thing that's ever. You haven't even tried it.
And I won't. I will never try it,
It
and
tastes
I'm
like
okay.
it tastes like a cup of blueberry muffin.
I'm good. I'm good. I'm never gonna try that.
It's the greatest thing in the world.
No, it's not.
What podcast are we on right now? What are we even doing?
I don't know, dude, but we're having a good conversation. I
We
disagree
are.
with you.
Screw stocks. Let's do this.
We don't need to talk about investments. You didn't turn in the you tuned in to listen to us talk about coffee and sweeteners.
Yes.
And Brandon's family originally from the South.
Yes.
Um, and my heritage from let me see, family from Spain came over. They settled in San Diego. So San Diego roots, LA, San Diego, Southern California. And then my dad's side, all Native Americans, North California, Southern Oregon.
Interesting. Mine was
So
London and France, and your mom's underpants, and the beaver side is from France, and it
yeah,
was like
you guys were fur traders.
Beauvoir or something was the original name, and it
No,
split off. No, it split off. Look, it split off. There's Bieber, Weaver, and Beaver. Three come from the same original
so
family.
are you related to Justin Bieber? Like is he like a 12th, 14th cousin?
And he's Canadian, so that makes sense because some portion of my family came down in from Canada. And then a large portion came from London and then went and settled in North Carolina, then South Carolina, then Tennessee, then Kentucky, then Ohio.
Hmm. Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, not a whole lot of big interesting news that I saw in the markets. Did I miss something? Maybe. I
By the way, and they call that the Great Appalachian Migration, by the way, because many families that are settled here in Cincinnati, Ohio, had that exact same route.
What about the Germans? Cincinnati's a huge German town.
I don't know about them.
We're
A lot
also
of our family,
we are a big Indian
yeah.
town too
Well,
from India.
well, the Germans came in the 1800s, right? But like
Mhm.
the migration of the Appalachian families into Cincinnati from Kentucky to Ohio, that happened mostly in the beginning of the 20th century, um, during the end of industrialization, when agriculture and all that stuff started to decline for a little bit. People were looking for those city jobs and
Gotcha.
manufacturing. So, yeah.
So that's how the Beavers came to settle in Cincinnati.
Yes.
Nice.
And a portion of us split off and went to Missouri, and there's actually a town called Beaverton, Missouri, named after my family from forever ago.
Nice. That's interesting.
Yeah.
My dad's family, the natives, they're all from the same part of the area. My dad and my brother and sister and us are the one of the few that left the reservation, and everybody else is still in the same regional area. Same with my mom's family. Everybody else, same West Coast area. So I mean, it's nobody ever really migrated anywhere else. They kind of stayed where they're at. Even the Spanish side, like I said, they came to San Diego, LA, stayed. But yeah, I mean, I think my brother, my sister, and I we all kind of traverse the country and live in different parts. I live in Cincinnati because I got married, fell in love, and moved out here, and then went through a divorce, and
Yeah.
stuck here. I mean, I mean, I live here now. There you go. There you go. So, how about we talk about some stocks and investments?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Not a lot of big news that I saw. Did I miss anything this week? That's my question.
Berkshire Hathaway
Well, I mean, like any
report.
big news, like macroeconomic headline news. Did I miss something?
I don't know. I
Did you?
really don't. I mean, the Friday was pretty bad for the markets. Renewed earnings concerns or something
I
like that.
think it was more the Fed's words is what had people concerned. They were talking about possible higher inflation, and we're not going to see the growth that the current administration is wanting. And I think that's what drove down the markets, isn't it? Am I wrong in this?
I mean, that might be it. See, I should do the research for this show just to talk about stuff like that, but I've gotten to the point where I almost pay no attention to macroeconomics anymore.
But I do,
I
and
just
like I did not notice it. But I mean, I didn't notice anything. I watch CNBC pretty much every day, and I try to listen to the headlines. I love the CEO interviews. It gives you good insight into the companies. Palantir CEO came on TV, and it was very interesting to listen to his interview. And he had a good interview, and it really made me want to possibly invest in them, even though they've already gapped up. But his comments, was leading me down that path. But
okay. Does he seem trustworthy?
yes, because he seems honest
Okay. Did he
for a
say
CEO.
or
I'll
did
say
he
this:
ever use the
he
word
seems
mistake?
he seems honest for a CEO.
Yeah, did he? I mean, did he ever use the word mistake? I mean, I like CEOs that admit there's been mistakes made by them. A lot of them like to come in and say, talk about their predecessors' mistakes, but
Yeah,
I
no.
like to say,
He talked about how his views on different economic policies were wrong in the past, and he actually explained it in a very layman's term way why he has switched views on certain things. And I appreciated that he acknowledged that he was wrong and that here's why I'm switching and here's why I believe these things are actually better. And this is the path I believe we should go down.
okay,
So he almost won me over. Like I said, even though the company's gapped up, so right now it would be not a bargain to buy it.
yeah, but not at all.
But yeah,
Have they gone profitable yet?
their
Have they?
last earnings, I believe so, on their last earnings.
All
Yeah,
right.
they have a lot of positive news this past 12 months going for them. I mean, I've missed the boat on a lot of companies. I missed the boat on Palantir. I missed the boat on United Airlines. I didn't even know United Airlines jumped up until 3 months after it jumped up because that's how much I wasn't paying attention to airlines. I missed the boat on. You called out Delta. I missed the boat on Delta. There's a lot I missed the boat on this past like 6 months, but I've also done really well the ones I didn't miss the boat on. So
Which is exactly why it's important to be selective.
yeah, I mean, you're not going to catch them all,
Right.
and I don't care if I miss it. I'm just focused on the ones that I understand and I feel comfortable investing in.
Okay.
you
So
know.
I wanted to bring up the mistakes thing because Warren Buffett in his shareholder letter mentioned that he's used the word mistake 19 times in the past. I think he said 6 years.
Well, here, before
And
we
there's
get into the Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway, I know you want to talk about it. I knew you were going to bring it up. I purposely didn't do much research into it because I wanted to hear what you had to say. I'm aware of their cash on hand. I'm aware of their latest the top numbers or the headline numbers that came out. I'm aware of some of the big headlines that came out about the earnings call, but we'll get into it in a minute, and I'll let you. I won't steal your thunder. I'll let you say all the numbers, but I do want to say rules, rules, rules.
yeah.
Brandon and I get together 5 to 10 minutes before the show, and we tell each other what we're going to talk about. You hear the live back and forth, the bickering and banter right here on the show for you. Brandon, you may now take it away with
Okay.
Berkshire
So
Hathaway.
he said he was talking about the mistakes, and he just said that, most of these CEOs, they never admit to any mistakes. All their earnings calls are putting on a happy face. The board would crucify them if they used the word mistake or admitted to having any faults. Um, and CEOs that are like that kind of paint that rosy picture that seems to be like perfect management. And he said it makes him entirely nervous. He does understand that we live in a litigious society where people could sue at the drop of a hat. So he gets that part of it, but he likes, these CEOs that can admit when they make mistakes. And he's talking about, some of his mistakes that he's made. There's been a lot of companies, a lot of investments that he's made that he shouldn't have invested in. A lot of people that he's hired that he shouldn't have hired. That happens, but your flowers outgrow the weeds. That's my words, but it does, right? So, like, if we look at last year, for example, and I'm not saying there were many mistakes made here, but look at last year, the operating earnings for Berkshire, which is the number that you really want to look at for this company, skyrocketed to $14.527 billion during the final 3 months of 2024. That was a whopping 302% jump in insurance underwriting from the year earlier to 3.409 billion. The operating earnings came in very well for them. But what he mentioned is that last year 53% of their 189 operating businesses reported a decline in earnings. But the 47% outshine the 53% by a lot. What were you going to say?
It was mainly the if I now tell me if I'm reading it wrong, but what I read was this was mainly driven by the insurance underwritings and the amount of extra profit that they produced given Berkshire Hathaway that boost in Q4. Am I
Yeah,
wrong?
it was driven by that by a lot. And that's a kind of a big deal for them too, because about 3 or 4 years ago, Geico was in a pretty bad position. And
And did
that's
not did it not make headlines that all these insurance companies and the cost of car insurance and everything else has skyrocketed recently?
no, I mean, he didn't talk about that.
And the fact that now they're it's showing out record profit.
He didn't talk about that.
I know I did
Well, I mean,
just
but the
now.
numbers are looking good for Berkshire right now, right? Insurance investment income ballooned 50% to 4.088 billion. Total earnings for the quarter came in at 19.694 billion, a 47% decrease from the year over prior. The company's bottom line came in at 88.99 billion, down 7.5%. But the operating earnings is, I think, what's going to drive the stock higher probably tomorrow, because that was a huge deal for
Well, no,
Berkshire.
I think it's the cash on hand. It was what's going to drive the stock higher, and they tried to downplay that in the earnings in the press release.
Yeah, it did.
They really downplayed the cash on hand. They said it's the same percentage. Well, they said it's a similar percentage of the total portfolio as it's always has been, but it's a huge amount. You could buy a lot of companies with cash right now, and Berkshire Hathaway's just sitting on it, and which I don't understand because Warren Buffett is definitely someone who's over the years. Tell me if I'm wrong, Brandon, but over the years has always said that he would rather just have that money invested and growing than just sitting in cash.
Yeah, but you don't buy anything for any price that's given. You wait for the deals to come to you, right?
All
By the way,
right.
Berkshire Hathaway right now, price earnings ratio of at about 9. Price to book ratio as of Friday prior to this report was 1.66. It's probably going to be closer to 1 by Monday once they redo the numbers on it. I say Berkshire Hathaway is a buy.
I agree. No, I completely agree. I'm sold by the cash on hand. I mean, they do well in their investments, and they have long-term investments, and the dividends that they receive from these investments pay out just billions of dollars to Berkshire Hathaway every single year, which they can use to reinvest in any number of companies every single quarter. So I'm 100% a buyer of Berkshire Hathaway. I believe in the company, and I believe that it's a lot of the people that have worked with Warren Buffett. I know Warren Buffett has taken definitely a huge backseat to everybody else as far as making the decisions of how to invest in the company, and they are still doing well, which tells me that even long after Warren Buffett is gone from the company, they are still going to do just fine.
It's not going to be that long. He didn't give us a timeline here, but he said that Greg Abel will be replacing him soon. And he said that Greg Abel shares that Berkshire Creed, that the annual report is very important. He said that he understands that if you start fooling your shareholders, you will soon believe your own baloney and start fooling yourself as well. So he's, down that same road of honesty and transparency as Warren Buffett. Um, he said that in 2024, Berkshire actually did better than he was expected, although 53% of the 189 operating businesses reported a decline in earnings. He said that they were aided by a predictable large gain in investment income as treasury bill yields improved more substantially than expected. Um, their insurance business also delivered a major increase in earnings, like you said. Um, in the
And
five
quantitative,
years,
sorry, I don't mean to just talk over you here real quick, but go back to the Treasury bills line. Quantitative tightening has been put on hold by the Fed, and that's because they're worried about inflation. So they paused the QT, which is actually going to help that Treasury bill return. If I
yeah,
understand how Treasury bills work,
absolutely.
so
Yeah.
I mean, in the short term, that's a plus for Berkshire Hathaway and other companies that are holding Treasury bills. A lot of companies hold Treasury bills as a collateral, so that they can go ahead and have some extra margin plays on different investments that they have. So Treasury bills are used as collateral many times by large companies. But if they could up the return they're getting on them, that's like a win-win.
Well,
You
yeah,
buy
they'd
new,
have to
yeah.
buy new treasury bills to, continue to getting that income. Now, the on the flip side of that, it's even better, if they start to lower interest rates again, that's even better for them. As long as they stop investing in the T-bills, and what they'd want to do is either hold to maturity or they could then resell them at the market for a higher price than what they bought them for.
Yeah, and they definitely could do that, especially like you said. But are they going to lower interest rates anytime soon? The Fed's worried. I mean, when they come out and say they're worried about inflation, I don't think they're going to lower interest rate. They're going to pause, and that was the concern, and that's why you saw the sell off.
Yeah.
And I believe it has more to do about, like I said, what the Fed said and how it's going to affect the overall market than anything else. But Berkshire holding all these and getting that nice return is great for Q4, but is that going to continue for Q1 and Q2?
I don't think they're lowering interest rates anytime soon.
Oh.
Uh, And that's probably the right move. I know there's going to be political pressure to do it.
I don't know. I think that's why. Anyways, we could go down that rabbit hole. Right now, it's about Berkshire Hathaway. Their dividends is a number one of the biggest reasons why I would invest still in Berkshire Hathaway. It's their dividend money they get every quarter.
Yeah, okay, good, good. I thought you were going to say dividend they pay out, which they don't.
No, no
Yeah,
dividend they receive,
yeah.
like the
He
Coke
paid out
dividend,
one.
is astronomical.
He mentions it in the letter. He paid out one dividend, and I think he said 1967, and he doesn't remember why he did it, and he chooses to think it was just a bad dream.
Sounds like him.
Yeah. So he was talking about Geico. He said in 5 years, Todd Combs has reshaped Geico in a major way. He's increased in efficiency. He's brought underwriting practices up to date. Geico was a long-held gem that needed major repolishing, and Todd has worked tirelessly at the job, and though not complete, the 2024 improvement was spectacular. All told, they recorded an operated earnings of $47.4 billion in 2024 for Geico. They regularly, endlessly, he said, some readers may groan, emphasize this measure rather than the gap mandated earnings that are reported by, on page K68 on this earnings report. And the reason being is that operating earnings is what really drives Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway here. The unrealized and even realized stock gains, those are going to go up and down year over year. Oftentimes, when they buy into an equity, they're looking 10 to 15 years out. Year over year doesn't really matter to them on that.
And I like that approach. I think year over year is too. When you run in a company like Berkshire Hathaway, that's too small of a window and too narrow of a view. You got to have a longer view when you're at that company.
Yeah, and the other thing too that he mentioned, the earnings that they report and the shareholder letter that he highlights are all after taxes, depreciation, and amortization. This is something we were just talking about prior to starting the show. That's the important earnings, right?
Yeah,
The
that's the
net,
ones I believe count
yeah,
more.
yeah, he does not care about EBITDA.
I think companies that just push the EBITDA, they're looking at the wrong thing, or they're trying to push a message that they're doing well when they're really not,
Yeah,
and they're just trying to get that out there to shareholders and people who might invest in them.
right. He said their measure excludes, and this is 47.4 billions for the entire Berkshire, not just for Geico, by the way. But he said their measure excludes capital gains or losses on the stocks and bonds they own, whether realized or unrealized. Over time, they think it highly likely that earnings will prevail, or that gains will prevail. He said, why else would we buy these securities? Though the year by year numbers will swing wildly and unpredictably, a horizon such as commitments is almost always far longer than a single year. That's why we're looking at operating earnings and not, the unrealized equity gains here.
Can you say how much cash they have on hand?
Yeah, I'm getting to that right now. So he
Oh,
says this is where you said he was downplaying it, and you're right. But despite what some commentators currently view as extraordinary cash position at Berkshire, the great majority of your money remains in equities. That preference won't change. While our ownership in marketable equities moved downward last year from $354 billion to $272 billion, the value of our non-quoted controlled equities increased somewhat and remains far greater than the value of the marketable portfolio. So he's saying what you said. We're keeping the percentages the same as what you would normally see, and their sale of securities is being over dramatized by the media.
I just say go buy a company with that kind of cash.
But you got to find something that you like that at a good time. They like to time it. They
You
like
could
to.
pay cash for a lot of companies. Like
You can,
80% of all companies they could just go buy with cash.
but the price you pay matters, right? So you
Yeah.
got to wait for those values to come down. So maybe he's waiting for a correction or even a recession,
Hmm.
you know, and that'll pay off when it happens. So people are kind of going to be looking at Berkshire right now as a safe haven, I think.
Yeah, because they don't take any risk and they don't take any risk as far as like new, innovative, high risk, high speculative companies or even like cryptocurrencies or anything like that.
Yeah,
Which I don't believe some cryptocurrencies to be high risk anymore.
maybe not.
But
But it, you, we were also kind of going down the route of Geico, just to kind of explain the business practices of Geico, float, you know, um, casualty insurance, all that stuff.
Wells Fargo, all the
It,
insurance products they
right,
offer.
right. So the difference between an insurance business and a regular business, see, take a retail company, for example, right? You buy
Hmm.
your products. First, your costs happen first, and then your sales happen second. For insurance, it's the opposite. The sales happen first, and then the costs happen second, right? So you're selling these insurances to people and to businesses. You get the money back. That's known as float. And then you find out what the cost of that is late, later when the claims come in.
Yep.
So he said when writing the insurance, they receive the payment up front and much later than what our product has cost us. Sometimes the moment of truth is delayed as much as 30 or more years. He said they're still making substantial payments on asbestos exposures that occurred 50 years ago. The mode of operations, it's got a desirable effect, giving insurers cash before they incur most expenses, but carriers with it risk the that the company may can be losing money, sometimes mountains of money before anybody even knows what's happening here. The money up front, lost payments later model has allowed Berkshire to invest large sums, which is the float, while generally delivering what they believe to be a small underwriting profit. What they make estimates for, or what they make estimates for, are like the surprises, for example, like large hurricane hits or fires in Los Angeles. And he said so far those estimates have been sufficient. So over the past two decades, their insurance business has generated $32 billion of after-tax profits from underwriting and about 3.3 cents per dollar of sales after income tax. Meanwhile, their float has grown from $46 billion to $171 billion. And he said the float is likely to grow a bit over time, and with it, intelligent underwriting has a reasonable prospect of being costless. It's pretty awesome. It's
It
a
is
great
pretty
night
awesome.
for Berkshire, right?
Yeah.
So it's been almost 6 years since Berkshire began purchasing shares in five Japanese companies. Most of their money's still in the United States. But those five Japanese companies, I mean, that's been a big deal to Berkshire. They timed that perfectly. I mean, the Japanese stock market was moving sideways or downward, and just till a couple of years ago when it entered a new bull market. And it's been like 20 years since it's been in a bull market.
Well, that's because they were buying and selling our what was it, our bond market? They were moving our bond market.
Yep. Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, I found that out. Um, so the companies are Itochu, Marubeni, Mitsubishi, Mitsui, and Sumitomo. He said each of those large enterprises in turn owns interest in a vast array of businesses, many based in Japan, but others that operate throughout the world as well. These companies were picked because they're ran by people who have studied Warren Buffett and modeled their own management behind Warren Buffett as well. So, um, Greg Abel, I think, is the one who picked the companies, but
So you
Warren
think
Buffett is.
they're going to grow just like Berkshire Hathaway, and that's why you believe it to be a good investment?
Yeah, I mean
You're not
Mitsubishi.
worried about the Japanese economy and the fact that they have fewer younger workers and they have an aging population, and that these investments are not going to be sustainable.
No, because they've had the same problem for about 15 years now, and they're entering, I think, a new dawn for the Japanese economy. And I think that through technology and artificial intelligence, that things are becoming so efficient now that it won't matter.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I would like to go see for myself. So anyone listen, if you want to go to Tokyo with me, I've asked Brandon. He said no. So
I
you're
didn't say
welcome.
no. I said ask me later. I want to go too, but I got things I gotta buy here. I, I need a new car. Want to buy a new
Uh,
house. I
oh,
got things I gotta do. I gotta get married.
gotcha. Yes, yes. Everybody's welcome to come to Brandon's wedding. I invite you as my plus one.
No, no, you're not.
Joking. I'm joking. All right. Let's move on from Berkshire Hathaway unless you have more because it's a solid company. I want to know more about their Japanese investments, but
Yeah. Well, the
it's
annual
it's
dividend.
all financial companies, right, from Japan.
No, Mitsubishi's on there.
Yeah, but that's a broad. That's like saying GE back in the day, 20 years ago. GE did
It is.
everything 20 years
It
ago.
is. So they're expecting dividends from their Japanese investments in 2025 to total about $812 million.
Hmm.
So,
Well, all right.
and he
Let's
said
move on.
the interest cost of the yen denominated debt will cost them about 135 million.
Hmm. Well then,
Listen, I don't care if you own Berkshire Hathaway or if you buy it or not, you need to read the letter. It just puts you in the perfect mindset to buy stocks and to buy them correctly. It puts you in a good business mindset. You know, a lot of people probably don't understand how Berkshire Hathaway operates. It's actually really simple. It's just, a different kind of company.
there is a good a documentary on Max that has covered Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway, and I like that documentary.
Okay.
It just came out this past year, and it's good. It's a good one to watch.
All of the shareholder letters are available on berkshirehathaway.com ever since the very beginning.
There you
Uh,
go.
yeah. 60 years of shareholder letters right there for you. And they're good reads.
Are they good reads or do they read like a textbook?
They do not read like a textbook. He's a funny guy.
They do read like a textbook.
No, they don't. No, they don't. His comments about his sister, all that stuff is really funny.
Okay.
Read it.
All right. All right. So, all right, I want to talk. I want to go into a couple other things here real quick, and let's give these our listeners some stock news and give them some investment ideas here besides Berkshire Hathaway. Cool.
Yeah.
Sound good? All right. Let's get into it here. A couple things. Company Fiverr International reported earnings this past week, and they actually beat earnings with a surprise upside of just 2 cents. So 70 cents a share was the earnings consensus estimate of 68 cents a share. So as you dig into Fiverr's official release here and statement of what they got going on, they only mentioned the EBITDA earnings. If you don't know, it's earnings before interest, taxes. Um, I don't know. Forget the rest. It's not actual earnings, is how I look at it. I don't like it. I like hearing actual earnings. I understand the purpose of getting your EBITDA earnings because it's before all these things, non operating costs earnings is what it is basically.
Hmm.
So after you paid your employees and bought the products, the wholesale costs of your products or whatever, before your sale, I mean, that's what it is. But they're saying that it's looking good, it's looking strong. They had a Q4 13% revenue growth, 20% adjusted EBITDA margin. So that's a nice margin, but it's an EBITDA margin. Uh, they have some headwinds here, and this is what I'm talking about. And this is the reason why I wanted to look at this was to see how many people were actually taking part in the Fiverr plan. Where they is it going to be a huge jump? Is this going to be like an Uber event, or is Fiverr now just kind of plateauing off and no longer growing? So I read into the statement. Remind you, this is the statement Fiverr released. So it is kind of slanted towards them. Basically, what they said about their freelancers: we grow only when they grow, we succeed only when they succeed. Something you would figure you would hear, right? We pride ourselves in being the most talent-focused freelancing platform with the biggest and robust global community. To give you some idea of the scale of things, in 2024, we hosted about 100 community events in every corner of the world with an aggregate of over 100,000 registrations at those events. The public forum actively facilitates over 10,000 discussions with nearly 1 million interactions among their community members. However, what I don't like, Brandon, is they don't say, okay, that 1 million interactions between, the community members, is that per month? Is that just in 2024 alone? Is that like per day? I mean, what is the timeline on this? I want to know that, and they don't tell, and that's very frustrating. Hundreds of thousands of freelancers see Fiverr as a go-to platform to build a career. When I see hundreds of thousands of freelancers, I assume that at least 20% of them are not actually active. is typically my go-to number for any kind of platform like this. 1 out of 5 not active, 4 out of 5 probably. I mean, another 1 out of 5 probably barely active, and then you have the 3 out of 5 that are actually using the platform. But yeah, they go on to try to say that it's going to be a good year for them and pitch that overview, if you will, of the company and moving forward. I'm not a buyer. I'm not gonna buy. I don't see much growth in the freelancing for Fiverr. I see probably more growth in DoorDash, Uber Eats, Uber, Lyft. I still see growth in those sectors as a freelancing opportunity. In fact, Fiverr dropped after they reported the earnings. They dropped in share price quite a bit, $10 a share, which was about little less than 30% of their stock price after they reported this. So very disappointed all around. I would like them to see be more transparent and not just try to rosy up the picture.
Hundreds of thousands isn't a real number.
I
So
know, Sippy, that was I was gonna mention that as well, but it's like okay, let's say it was 200,000, right? But in what timeline?
how many are
And when?
bots? How many are
Yeah,
bots? How many are repeat accounts? You don't know.
yeah. I want more detail. I'm not investing in a company that is unwilling to give me the details I'm looking for. It just that tells me that you're not as strong as you're trying to put on.
Right. How many accounts they have? What are their headwinds? Those are things that I want to know. You mentioned a couple there. They're headquartered in Tel Aviv. So how much of a headwind is the Israeli-Hamas war?
Yeah. I mean, there are some people like RBC Capital. They say they're going to maintain their $35 price target. They said that after they announced their earnings call. So I mean, some people still believe in this, but they could that RBC Capital could just be heavily invested, and they have to maintain that.
Yeah. We're not we don't understand why they set that price, target. I'd have to read the report, but right now we don't get it, so we're not
Yep.
touching it.
Exactly. Moving on to another one that is going to report
What
tomorrow.
what separates Fiverr
Oh.
from Angie's List and all of the other and Craigslist and all of the other services that provide the exact
So
same products as they do?
So I don't know if they all provide the exact same products or not. I don't know exactly. I know how the other ones work, but Fiverr, I could tell you how it works, and then you can tell me. All right, how about that? So Fiverr works is say I want to pick up a second job. I don't want a second job, right? I have some skills. I just want to pick up some freelancing gigs whenever needed. I go on to Fiverr. I post my profile. I build it out, what I'm capable of doing, what I'm able to do, and then there's companies or businesses, small businesses, sometimes just individual households or individual people that say, hey, we're looking for someone to do this for us, and then it matches what I'm looking to do. And then boom, they offer to pay X amount of dollars and I take it and done. It can be any type of work whatsoever.
I'm pretty certain that's Angie's List.
All
That's the
right. So
thing.
there you
But
go.
I don't know. Maybe Fiverr is better at technology. I've never hired a contractor before, ever.
Right.
So I've never
I
had.
usually go through people I know, like my electrician I go through now is someone that Brandon you recommended. So it's
Yeah,
you know that's usually how I work.
yeah. And I'm lucky enough to be surrounded by people who are handy when I'm not. So that's
There you go.
yeah.
There you go. All right. So moving on. The next one they report tomorrow. I'm looking at this next one because I have concerns about them. And this company is Hims Hers Health is the name of the company. Ticker symbol HIMS. Ticker symbol HIMS. Hims Her Health is the company. All right. So the reporting tomorrow. What I want to look about is there's a controversy over one of the main drugs, and it's the weight loss drugs that they've been out there kind of pushing out there saying, hey, we can offer this at a discount versus what other people are, offering this at, and come here and you don't have to pay as much as everybody else, right? Well, the reason why they were able to do this is because Wegovy and Ozempic were on a what they call is a inventory short list. So whenever a main drug comes out and they don't have enough of it for the market, they allow other companies to go ahead and sell the generic version of that drug or a similar drug to it without any kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Legal aspects given to them. All right, they're allowed to go ahead and do it. That way, there's enough of the drug on the market for everyone to use. Well, Hims was using this as a way to go ahead and sell semaglutide on the market to everybody else and claim it's a weight loss drug, which it is, and 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 do it. The FDA was allowing them to do it. However, Wegovy and Ozempic, Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk have now said that, hey, we have plenty of this in the markets. We've built all these plants. We're good to go. And the FDA has agreed, and it's no longer a that these drugs are no longer in short supply. So now companies like Hims or Health have been given a 60 to 90 day notice that they have to stop selling these within 60, 90 days. That was given to them in December.
Oh, wow.
So it's very close to the time they have to quit selling these things online and marketing it. And that anyone who is currently using it needs to switch over and contact their doctor and switch to the Eli Lilly or Novo Nordisk versions of these drugs, so that they don't have any repercussions from already starting them with Hims and Her Health. So that permit shows a huge headwind for these companies, right? Huge headwind because they're making quite a lot of this. They're making quite a lot of money off of these, right? So what they do is what they call is pharmacy compounding. The sale of compounded versions of Eli Lilly's rival obesity and diabetes drugs was banned in December after the FDA found them no longer to be in short supply. The FDA said in a statement that compounded pharmacies would be given a grace period of 60 to 90 days, as was the case when Lilly's drugs were declared out of shortage. He basically, the FDA commissioner said he did not think that the agency's declaration would necessarily end the obesity drug compounding. He said there's so much money to be made. There's just an endless number of tricks that compounders could use. So I don't think that's the end of it, but it certainly will bring us into a new era after that time period has passed and all the lawsuits are finished. So there's going to be a lot more lawsuits coming, is what he's alluding to. Basically, there was Scott Brunner, the CEO of the Alliance for Pharmacy Compounding, which represents compounding pharmacists, technicians, questioned whether the FDA took into account the number of patients who will need to transition from these compounded drugs, the ones that Hims sells, to FDA-approved versions before making the announcement. So what he's saying is, according to last year, there are currently over 200,000 prescriptions for semaglutide that were not manufactured by Novo Nordisk that are now going to have to be filled by Novo Nordisk once this transition takes place. And he's saying that Novo Nordisk does not have enough to fill that need. So there's a whole mess here. There's some lawsuits being filed. This is a plus for Novo Nordisk because if Novo Nordisk is saying that they have the supply ready to go and that they are able to supply the market, then that's 200,000 new patients that are going to be on the Novo Nordisk drug and no longer on these generic compounded versions of semaglutide. So that's going to be a huge boon. A tailwind for Novo Nordisk and a headwind for Hims. Hims, of course, is trying to sue to stop these things from happening. So why this whole story unfolding here is why I'm interested into the earnings call tomorrow. I want to see what they say on the call.
So can they just take it off the label and then maybe call it an appetite suppressant and then maybe stop advertising it as a weight loss drug and keep it on the market? Because
No,
the
because of
FDA is
the
just generally a label regulatory body.
they're using the drug semaglutide as its base, and that is patented, from Novo Nordisk
Gotcha.
and Eli Lilly. They both use versions of it. Yep.
But were you
So
saying they could just kind of tweak the recipe for it?
yeah, they can, and then they can say it's a whole new recipe and mess with it, but that goes down a dangerous road right there. In that these companies did not do the research and development, and it could cause other side effects, which some of these we are seeing out there in the public. I read a number of articles recently that are talking about patients that are having trouble with eye problems from loss of glucose levels in their blood dropping too low. to blood pressure dropping too low, to other issues because people are using these drugs when they're not necessarily needed. And they're
Okay.
just trying to lose like an extra 5 to 10 pounds of fat versus just, diet and exercise.
Gotcha.
These are meant for people who are obese or have a lot of weight to lose or have major problems already with like diabetes, high blood pressure, sleep apnea, major problems, not people who have slight problems or a 10 pound to weight loss to have. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
So when people, that's what I believe is where the issue is.
Okay. Gotcha.
So overall, yes. Do I believe Novo Nordisk is going to have a better Q1? Yes. They're going to sell more of these drugs. And that's going to be a boon for Novo Nordisk. They're going to make even more money off of these drugs that they sell. Um, Eli Lilly has already been going up. Eli Lilly keeps coming out with other better drugs. This is not their only winner at Eli Lilly. Eli Lilly is such a big company. They have other drugs and other pipelines for other diseases that are doing well for them as well. So Eli Lilly would just be a good, as of right now, with the pipeline they have, would be a good buy for a long-term investment. Novo Nordisk, this is the main drug, the main profit maker for that company. So it's their stock price is really dependent upon how well Ozempic is doing,
Mhm.
which is the difference between the two companies. So Ozempic really moves that stock price, which is why I sold it back in the day. I saw all these headwinds happening. I saw the lawsuits being won by these companies such as Hims. So I pulled my money out. But now, I don't know. FDA is ruling in the favor of Novo Nordisk. I might look at possibly putting my money back in. We'll see.
But you're saying Eli Lilly's more diversified.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes. They're not a. This is not their only pony. I guess what is it? One trick pony.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not all their eggs in the one
one
basket.
basket. However you want to word it. So yeah, you have that going on, but that's what I'm looking at Monday. I want to see what they say when they have their earnings call on Monday. One last one I want to cover just really quick. I know our listeners are like, man, these guys talk forever. I'll be really quick. This is Walmart. Walmart reported earnings this past week. They did give a slower guidance. They said they were going to slow down in top and bottom, top line number revenue was going to be slower growth than what they have done. They called for a 4% growth for 2025. Everybody was expecting a 7 to 8% growth, so the stock dropped. However, Walmart has typically done this where they call for growth and then they typically beat it by 4 to 5%. So that's just the way Walmart likes to be conservative with their guidance. So you can use it as an opportunity to maybe buy and buy it at a discount. But if you read into earnings call, they're going to go into the guidance as to why they believe that it's going to be slower, lower growth. If you look at the SKU count, it's still strong. Walmart's doing great. They're still making headwinds into the upper middle class. Walmart Plus is still doing amazing. Brandon, you've covered this. I've covered this. Walmart, I believe, is going to go back up. I believe this is a good time to buy right now at the prices at after the gap down. I think it was oversold and because of the overall market was down. So this is one of the times where the overall market had a bad day. Walmart went down with it. I think you buy Walmart, make a quick buck on the way back up. I would swing trade this.
Wing traded. Okay. So I'm not buying it now as an investment, right? I'm going to take the leadership at their word and then just pretend we're going to have 4% growth over the next year. And then that to me tells me that the price earnings ratio, which is still at 38% right now, still too high.
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm. All right. Fair enough. All right, look at the earnings. Like I said, Hims is coming out Monday. That's one to look at. One I want to look at, and it's interesting from a cryptocurrency is Riot platforms. A lot of these cryptocurrency miners are starting to go out of business. There was a ton of them back in the day, and now some of them are disappearing. And it's the cost of the mining, cost of the electricity. They've had a lot of them had to move over to parts of Northern Africa, down to South America and move their operations to those areas, sell off a lot of their Bitcoin reserves. There was a lot of these movements going in. I want to see what Riot says to give me an aspect of the overall market, especially from a Bitcoin perspective, because in order for Bitcoin to continue its growth, it needs Bitcoin miners. So Bitcoin miners need to be making a profit in order to be able to keep that going. I want to see what's going on here and kind of get an insight into that sector is what I'm looking at for that. The other big ones of note this week is Tuesday, Home Depot before the bell. I'll be looking at their numbers, kind of get an aspect of the overall market. Home Depot does most of their profit from business to business sales. And so that's one thing I'm looking at as home builders disappointed. I want to see if Home Depot continues its move up. You covered Home Depot, Lowe's, and Builder Source recently, and they all three have had a tremendous 10-year number. You look at the chart, past 10 years, all three of them, you could have been a winner if you bought it 10 years ago. Let's see if that continues. Tuesday, Home Depot reports. Wednesday, after the bell, NVIDIA Day. NVIDIA is going to report Wednesday after the bell. That's going to move markets. A lot of money still invested in NVIDIA, whether you believe it or not. But I want to see what they say about DeepSeek. That was the big news of the past quarter, past 3 months. What does NVIDIA say on the earnings call about DeepSeek and its future in regards to competition? Let's see what they say. That's Wednesday after the bell on Wednesday.
Yes, and we know, as we talked about, was it last week where I covered Google, or was it the week before? Google,
That Go ahead.
Google's lucky enough to find itself in a position that it will benefit whether or not DeepSeek succeeds.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. Yeah, Google Meta has OpenAI aspect like DeepSeek, so Meta doesn't care. Meta really doesn't care at all about
right,
DeepSeek. Um,
right.
there you go. But final thought, Brandon.
Yeah, just you're talking about the Fiverr situation. You want to look for specifics, right? You want management that you can trust. You don't want to hear hundreds of thousands, when they say this is the users that we have. You want a specific number. Um, you want management that will admit when they make a mistake. You want management that will come out and give you pre-guidance if they think the stock is driven up too high recently. Those are all good things that you want in management when you're looking for to buy a company. And honestly, I think that management is the absolute most important thing after, of course, what the company is actually selling. Because if what the company's selling doesn't provide any benefit to anybody, then it's not going to go anywhere. But,
Yep, I agree. Um, I will say I'm a little biased when it comes to Hims, and here's why. This company plays around with the formulas for a lot of these drugs. Now, some of them they have the rights to sell generic versions of them. That's great. You did it the right way. But they do it to sell these drugs that are designed to help each other at a discount for individuals. I get the purpose behind it. That's great. But when you play around the formulas, there's all kinds of potential side effects that could happen. I don't like the way they do it in that regard. So
you know,
I just it rubs me the wrong way. You're
they're
playing
in,
around with people's bodies.
yeah, they're in all of the shady industries that I would never touch. Weight loss, hair growth, and the third one that the blue pill one.
Yeah. Yes. Viagra. Yes. Generic version of that. Yeah. And so I don't know. There's so many questions I don't have the answers to about that company, and I could probably find it if I did my research. But I want to see what they say on Monday, in regards to everything else going on. Other than that, like I said, Walmart swing trade for me. I'll be taking another look at Nova Nordisk to see if it's something I want to get back into again. We'll see. I'll let you guys know if I do. Other than that, that's where I'm at. All right. As always, we hope we have been entertaining, educational, and uplifting because we want everyone to make money. Have a good night.
Have a good night.